Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, with some excitement, I've been looking at a lot of Warhammer Fantasy stuff. Looking at the armies we've got for the channel, going to get painted up, chatting with friends about Warhammer Fantasy, and in general, just having a good time reminiscing. Now, with Warhammer the Old World hopefully on the horizon, apparently we're going to see some stuff middle of the year, hopefully. I want to talk about 10 things I'd like to see happen in Warhammer the Old World. This will be a mix of rules and narrative and where the game sort of goes and what models we sort of get. Just 10 things I really hope from the particular game. So without further ado, let's get cracking on, let's go chat in this list, and I'd love to hear the things you want to see from this game. Now, of course, you've got to remember as well, there are things that have already been announced. We can use our old armies. It's going to be the normal 28 to 32mm scale that GW has. It's going to allow us to play with square bases. It's going to be rank and flank. It's going to be in inches. You know, a lot of the similar stuff. It's going to be very similar to 7th, 8th edition Warhammer. So, let's get cracking on. Let's get chatting about it. Number one, a character series. Now, I look at Warhammer 30k as my example of this, and what they've done with the character series, bring out the Primarchs, the big demons, looking at like Kabanda and stuff like that, along with all the different characters like Emil's Dynet and all, you know, the secondary characters, Alexis Pollux and all of that. I really love the character series for 30k, the way they've made these really cool scenic bases, they've made these really highly detailed miniatures for the special characters, and I really do want to see that come to Warhammer the Old World. I want to see amazing new sculpts of characters like Manfred von Carstein, and especially ones that are no longer, I guess, in existence in Age of Sigmar. So imagine characters like, for the Empire, things like Marius Leitdorf, and for the Orcs and Goblins, things like Gorbad Ironclaw, for Wood Elves, an Orion model, and stuff like that. I really want to see those characters reimagined and given, I guess, a new life in some brand new amazing sculpts. Number two, a balance to Horde and Cavalry. This was always something that sort of irked me in 8th edition, is the fact that Cavalry seemed so unusable, especially in the thing you think it would be in flank charges. You would need large blocks of Cavalry to really break the infantry regiments. I would like to see, as long as Cavalry has something like 2 ranks, its ability to just, you know, disrupt and remove that ability of Hordes to stay there. I think impact hits on nearly every Cavalry model is probably something that should be brought into the game, where if it's just 1 strength 4 impact hit for every Cavalry model in a unit when it hits, I think this would be a great thing. I look at games like Conquest Last Argument of Kings, which I've been playing lately, which is a really cool rank and flank game if you are into that sort of stuff. But for me, I would like to see, you know, impact hits generated from pretty much every Cavalry model in the game. So when they hit, they get that extra little punch, and then they get their attacks, and they can hopefully do and disrupt Hordes. There was a massive imbalance in later editions of Warhammer Fantasy between these large units of Hordes and Cavalry units that were supposed to be, I guess, in theory, they're the units that break the Hordes and break these large blocks of infantry as Cavalry hitting something in the flank. So I'd like to see that balance addressed between the two. Number 3, and another rules one, is skirmishes. I'd love to see skirmishes sort of go back to how they originally were, allow more freedoms, not have to be in this weird sort of skirmish but ranked up formation that they sort of were. I'd love to see them have this free-flowing movement where every model can act independently, and as long as they're within an inch, they sort of work. This would greatly improve their use in the game, enabling them to be screens and enabling them to sort of move where other units can't. A 360-degree range would be really cool on skirmishes as well. Just some sort of balances. I mean, you can represent this on points, but I really do think that in 8th they maybe lost a little bit of what sort of made them special and useful in earlier editions of Warhammer Fantasy. Number 4, magic toned down. Now, I know I've got a picture here of a raging wizard, but I would like to see magic sort of maybe take a little bit of a step back into how powerful it was in the, I guess, later editions of Warhammer Fantasy. You definitely want it to be a factor, but you don't want it to be the thing that's like winning games with one spell going off and all of a sudden the game is done. This is a massive thing, I think, and you really don't want that imbalance of power. You want the game to be about the maneuverability of your rank and flank units and your combat prowess more than anything in the game. And I just want to see magic toned down a little, brought back in line, and not be, you know, this sort of all or nothing thing that can really swing the tide with the correct spell just going off, and your opponent not dispelling it, you're getting an irresistible force, and it just going absolute bananas. Number 5, no guess ranges. Now, I know this is going to be a hot topic, and I have a dwarf army, and I'm pretty good with guessing ranges, but for me, this is just a barrier of entry for getting new people into the game, and if we really want Old World to succeed, we need to get rid of some of the things that really are just barriers of entry and don't really add anything to the game itself. It's pretty easy to sort of calculate where a table is without measuring anyway. You can sort of go, well, that thing's in the middle, so it's this far. I do think there maybe needs to be a little bit more randomness in how artillery works, but I don't think the guess ranges is the right way to do it. I think we just need to maybe rethink on how we are, I guess, on how we are sort of working how artillery works. Something needs to happen, but guess ranges isn't the way to bring back that randomness to your artillery pieces. Perhaps it is instead making them cost more. Number 6, old ranges brought back. Now, I'm not talking about, I guess, more dwarves and Empire and Wood Elf models being brought back. I'm talking about those ranges that existed for parts of Fantasy's history. Things like Kislev, which it certainly looks like they're doing, and things like Chaos Dwarves, and in particular, Amazons as well here that I've got pictured. Armies like these brought back into the fold of Warhammer Fantasy. I'd love to see these armies brought back and have, you know, a proper exploration of what they have to offer a Warhammer Fantasy world. I think there's a wealth of options in these armies, things like Dogs of War, things like, obviously, as I've said, Kislev and Chaos Dwarves, things like the Norse, things like the Zombie Pirates of the Vampire Coast, and all those sort of armies. I'd love to see them brought back. Halflings as well. That's what I want to see. Number 7, and continuing on that train of thought, the world explored more and look into places that we didn't explore properly. And of course, Cathay is the first place that springs to mind. Those amazing Warhammer the Old World trailers showing us Cathay, and I look at that, I guess, area of Warhammer Fantasy that we never really explored. I'd love to see things explored, you know, like Tilly, Estella, the Border Princes, what happens in the Badlands. We saw on the Warhammer the Old World map like half-orcs and stuff like that. Show us more of these unexplored regions. I'd love to see, you know, the feral Lissaman of the Dragon Isles, the hinterlands of Kuresh more. Give us a proper look at what Nippon truly looks like. All of these are really different things I'd love to see in Warhammer Fantasy and have truly explored properly. I mean, this is where it's going to just not be Warhammer Fantasy, it's going to be Warhammer the Old World. If we bring and have a look at all these places that were never truly explored and really just dive into the world like never before. Number 8, the game to explore multiple time periods. Now, this doesn't have to be straight away. I think this can be a great way to sort of give us release cycles of the game. In the first part, maybe explore one of the Great Wars against Chaos, or indeed, it looks like we're going to look at the time of the 3 Emperors, and then you can definitely shuffle up and bring out new models for different time periods. We could have a Border Prince War, we could have the Errantry War into there as a time period we look at. We could even go as far back to look at like War of the Beard models, or even the first war against Chaos. I think this would be a great way to prolong the longevity of the game in looking at these different time periods and giving us the narrative to be able to run these different time period armies. Number 9, a focus on both small and large scale games. One of the big things that was Fantasy's major issue in later editions was that it didn't have a small style game focus. I've looked at many other games, and both Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Age of Sigmar are doing this quite well at the moment, where they're clearly and making things for both sort of game sizes, and they're focusing on, I guess, 1,000 point and 2,000 point game sizes. And I think this is incredibly important for Warhammer Fantasy to have an easier access point. You could look at something like Conquest Last Argument of Kings, which has First Blood, which is a skirmish variation using the same rules up until you get large enough to play a large game of Conquest Last Argument of Kings, and this works really well as well. I think this is definitely the way to go, having this sort of mix of two, I guess, point-sized games that are the same system, but sort of make it a viable option to run smaller games of this. And number 10, bring back Mordheim. The hope is with Warhammer the Old World, hopefully it will be a success, and then look at, you know, some specialist games for it itself. Mordheim would be a fantastic game to bring back alongside, giving us that amazing skirmish level dungeon crawl style game that it is. I absolutely love Mordheim. We're hoping to get some games of Mordheim happening on the channel very soon. We'll have a campaign up and running sometime this year, But Mordheim is definitely one of the ones I look forward to hopefully making a comeback because of what Warhammer Old World can do to start it off. But that is 10 of our own reasons for why and things that we want to see happen in Warhammer the Old World. Let us know your thoughts and your wants for the game. Well, that's it for the video. We hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little fine community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the video's description to our Discord server. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel more, you can do so by following the links to either our Patreon or YouTube members down in the description of the video. It goes a massive way to helping the channel continue to produce the content that it does. We'd like to give a special shout out to all our patrons and YouTube members, so a special thank you to our Patreons: Christian Weir, James Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nilsson, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater and Samuel. And a shout out to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny, Lockloric, The Johnny 84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Sean Scott and Ariana Edwards. Finally, a last special shout out to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel that you see pictured here, and 2X Morphic, who does all the amazing background work on our Discord server for us. Thank you both, you do amazing work. That's it though. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.